we are going to enter into. Yeah, so today we are going to deal with. Today we'll be looking at the benefits of a high emotional intelligence, and also how to build emotional intelligence. So these are the two key aspects we're going to look at today: benefits of a high emotional intelligence, and then how to build emotional intelligence. We all remember, as you were all revising, so you can build it. There's a ability of building it. But now, before you get into building it, what are the benefits? Because if you don't know what is important, if the importance of something, why would you be putting your energy in fixing or building the thing? You are building what if? So that's why we start by understanding the importance or the benefits of it. So when you understand the benefits of a thing, that is what will inspire you to try and build up that thing. I'm happy we have more stable network today, so we can all hear me very well. So now, benefits of a building or benefits of a strong emotional intelligence. The first thing is you can build a stronger and more satisfying relationships with others. If you have a high emotional intelligence, you can build stronger and more satisfying relationships. So a lot of people are into relationships that are not strong enough, and they're not satisfying. The relationships, there are ups and downs because the emotional intelligence is low. It's low. So in this case, when you have a high emotional intelligence, you will build stronger relationships with other people just by being empathetic. Remember, we talked about empathy. We mentioned empathy last time. Being you start enjoying your relationship. When you are empathetic, empathy, if you can remember the definition we gave in the last class, is that you'll be able to see things from the perspective of the other person. Empathy helps you to see things from the other person's perspective. And this works for you any day, anytime, anywhere. We are all humans, and everywhere we go, we have relationships. We are building relationships. We're building relationships. Some could be romantic relationships. Some could be work relationships. You have colleagues at work. You have a boss, or you have subordinates. You have employees, and so on. You have relationships of all sorts: family relationship, work relationship, romantic relationship. So you have all sorts of relationships. So a high emotional intelligence is going to just help you build a stronger and more satisfying relationships. That's number one thing, key benefit. Number one benefit that you have is that you build stronger relationships. And life is about relationships. Life is around relationships. The way God created man is that man has to depend on man. You cannot be an island. You really cannot be alone. You need people. People need you. And you need to be able to relate with one another. So we are relational human beings. We are relational beings. Human beings are relational beings. That's who we are. So the second thing we're looking at as a benefit of building a benefit of emotional intelligence is you can achieve your goals and overcome challenges. You can achieve your goals when you have a high emotional intelligence. I'm telling you, people with high emotional intelligence, they are more successful. That's the truth. More successful. I can start naming you circumstances, situations. So you see, if you've worked with a variety of people, or maybe you have changed bosses, you discover that some of them, those who had This thing, thank you. It's back.
Okay.
Annie, please, the recording should not stop. Oh. We need to keep this knowledge. We need it. So you can really achieve your goals and overcome challenges by being resilient, motivated, and optimistic. This is what a high emotional intelligence will do for you. You will be able to achieve your goals and overcome challenges by being resilient, motivated, and optimistic. You see a person with good emotional intelligence, you hardly see them just frowning anyhow, doing some kind of things, being moody and all of that, you know, because the way everything, when I started getting this, every time before my mood will change, I have to ask questions. That's when your thinking comes into play. I ask the question like, what is the benefit? I think going to help me. If I really get angry now, manifest, let me see what result I get. I'll calculate it very well and see if the if the result not as positive, then I let go. I'm like, okay, I think it's better to be on this side than to be on this side. That's why what about emotional intelligence? Your mind should be more at work. So your emotions should not absorb your thinking. Your emotions should not absorb your thinking. So when your thinking is at work, you always think. You always calculate the thing very well in your mind, like, what's my benefit here? You realize that this thing is not going to profit you anything. Oh yeah, you let go and do something better for yourself. So the next benefit of emotional intelligence is you can communicate effectively. You can communicate effectively and persuasively, clearly, and respectfully, thereby building strong relationships with others. So third on our list is that you can communicate effectively and persuasively, clearly and respectfully, thereby building strong relationships with others. So you will see that everything ends up, boils down to relationships. It boils down to relationship. If you can communicate well, effectively, and then you'll be able to build stronger relationships. Communication is another aspect, it's another lesson on its own, which we're going to learn in this course. But, it is part of emotional intelligence, the ability to communicate effectively and persuasively. This helps you respectfully. There's some people that, man, the way they can talk to people, you will just be so discouraged. It's when they have not been able to sit down and imagine the consequences of their behavior, of their communication, of their style, and everything. So, and it will even amaze you that there are people that have not gone to school, but they have a very high emotional intelligence, who did not even learn these things in school. But their minds, their discernment, everything around them is sharpened, is at work so much so that you find, and that's why you find even some children you are with them in school, they are more outgoing, they are more relational, they are more friendly. They didn't learn that in school. Nobody taught them how to make friends. But here we are anyway, learning how to do it, learning how to do it. And the fact that you're learning how to do it means you can do it and get better. Anything that you lost in the course of time when you didn't know how to do it, you can learn it and still do it and still gain the thing. You can catch up. And so the next thing that the next benefit we're looking at is you can reduce stress and anxiety by being aware of your emotions and your own coping strategies. So the benefit of emotional intelligence, number 4, is that you can reduce stress and anxiety. You can reduce stress and anxiety by being aware of your emotions and your own coping strategies. Now you know already that, okay, this is what makes me very angry, and when you see it coming, you know how to avoid it. You know your coping strategy. How do you cope with maybe lousy people around you? Somebody asked the question last week. How is it? How about people that you want to maintain your own mood, but the people around you keep, provoking or causing you to. You need to devise a coping method. Some people's coping method is that they don't speak. And that's one of the things I taught myself, not to speak when I'm angry. I do everything to seal it like this. It's a coping mechanism. Because each time you speak when you are angry, you end up regretting why you spoke. You must regret very shortly. After that, you regret why you ever even spoke. So you must find a coping mechanism around your emotions. And this will help you to reduce stress. Now you know it. So it helps you really reduce stress, honestly. All those things, there are many diseases that people have carried, like high blood pressure, because of what? Low emotional intelligence. They let everything get at them. They leave everything to go in. You mustn't do that. Remember, I think I mentioned this last week, that it is not the water surrounding the ship that sinks the ship. It is the one that gets into the ship that can cause the ship to sink. So the things that you let into you, they have to be very selective. Now with your knowledge in emotional intelligence, you are going to be very selective. You don't just let everything get at you. Somebody says something, you are angry, you take it, you go and sleep with it, you wake up. You see, when I was very low in emotional intelligence, I was sleeping the night thinking of something that was done to me, rehearse the pain, think about it, go around it, imagine it, revise it, revisit it, think how it was done, how they did it, what they did, and so on. That thing, gosh, now God has helped me, and I'm able to pull people out of it now. If you are into that kind of thing, it's called emotional idolatry. Somebody thinks that idol is only when you go and carve something, go and sit and be worshiping. See, when you hang around too much, it's like you are worshiping it. It's emotional idolatry. You think about the pain, think about the emotion, think of how it made you. I'm telling you, if you have ever gone through a traumatic situation like one that I've been through, in 2021, I faced a very traumatic situation where armed robbers had to visit us. And, after that, I kept playing the scene. I played that scene in my mind for a very long time. I'll remember how I came to my gate, and it was an armed robber that was opening my gate. The person had a gun, pointed a gun at me. I would think of the whole scene. I would play it to the end. And each time you play the scene, I'm telling you, the trauma comes back. So, and there are many scenes that will keep playing in our life, things that have happened to us. You go back, play it. It's emotional. It is called emotional idolatry, in case you did not know. So you can reduce stress and anxiety by being aware of those emotions and a coping strategy. Forget it. One coping strategy is find something else to occupy you so that you forget that thing that is making you feel that way. Okay. And then we equally have the fifth point here, which is you can make better decisions and solve problems by being rational, creative, and flexible. You can make better decisions and solve problems. Rational, creative. Can you guys hear me? Are we together? Are we in this class together? I want to be sure that my people are here. Are we together? All right.
We are.
Good, beautiful. Thank you. So our fifth point, like I was saying, is that you can make decisions and you can make better decisions and solve problems by being rational, creative, and flexible. Rational, creative, and flexible. So when you are good at emotional intelligence, It helps you to make better decisions and solve problems. You make better decisions in life. You think well before you, they say, look before you leap. You would think very well before you make your decisions. You make better decisions and solve your problems by being rational, being creative and flexible, right? And then you can equally enhance your well-being and happiness by being self-aware, self-regulated, and self-compassionate. I think we talked about this in our last class. Self-awareness, self-regulated, that's self-management, how you manage your emotions, and self-compassionate, like have compassion on yourself, on your own self, like don't be too harsh on yourself. Take it easy. Sometimes you yourself, you make a mistake and every day you're blaming yourself. Oh, why did I do this thing? I did this thing. Every day you go back to it and you're like, no, you have to be self-compassionate, self-compassionate. So you can enhance your well-being and happiness by being self-aware, self-regulated, and self-compassionate. It helps your general well-being. By the time you know all of this, by the time you are able to grow your emotional intelligence, your well-being, people will just see you glowing. They'll see you you're happy. You're happy because of the things you now know, which you didn't know before. And lastly, which is our 7th point, lastly, you can enhance your creativity and improve on your mental health and general well-being. So, when you are emotionally stable, you are more creative. People who are worried, you can't think ahead. You can't do something. You cannot be creative because your mind is crowded, choked with worries. So this will enhance your creativity and improve your mental health and your general well-being. Generally, you'll be good. At work, you're fine. At home, you're fine. You are okay. It's going to enhance all of this. And then you'll become more creative even at work. You become more creative. At work, you become more creative. At home, you become more creative. In your marriage, you become more creative. So these are the benefits of emotional intelligence that I have shared with us. Benefits of emotional intelligence. And when you go through that, you realize we need it. We actually need it. There are things in life you don't ignore, right? You cannot ignore it. So we're going to move to our next one, which is how to build a high emotional intelligence. How to build a high emotional intelligence. That's the next thing we're going to be looking at. So that will take us to our point number 1. Oh, I wish you could see this slide, which is meditation. Meditation. So, and this will take us to my own intelligence, which I call spiritual intelligence. Spiritual intelligence. And this is what holds everything together. Remember, the foundation of what we are doing is God. We are doing this on a Christian foundation. So we're not going to just teach you what psychologists have said without you understanding the link between all what psychologists have said and what the Bible says. So we are connecting it to our Creator. You have to pray about it. There's a verse in Colossians chapter 1, which I love so much. Colossians 1:17, which says that Christ is before all things. And in him, all things hold together. Christ is before all things. And in him, all things hold together. This is to say that what? If you must build a high emotional intelligence, you need to build your spiritual intelligence. You need to work on your relationship with your Creator. your relationship with God. You need to pray about it. Spend time in worship and in meditation. When I talk about meditation, meditate on the word of God. The Bible says you meditate on the word of God day and night and make it your standard. And that was the instruction that God gave to Joshua. Do not let this word depart from you, but meditate on it day and night. It's important. Now, when you meditate, you give room for listening, room to receive, room that when God speaks, you can hear. You know, we do a lot of noise in prayers and we just pray and we just talk and go. Talk, and go. When you talk and go, you don't give room for listening. You have spoken, and the person you have spoken to is responsible, but you're not hearing because you're only talking. So that's why I bring it as meditation. Meditate, sit, and let God speak to you. There are some situations, there are some circumstances in life that truly there is no other intelligence that can deal with it. You still like you're confused. You don't know what to do. You think that what they say in pidgin, say you will check sense until sense will check you. You are not getting the answer. You need spiritual intelligence. Honestly, we need to build spiritual intelligence. We are aspiring counselors. In fact, we are counselors. Only with a couple of lessons we have received. If somebody showed up before you with a problem, with a marital thing, you already have something to tell them. You already have something to share with them. So we are building spiritual intelligence for ourselves. Mind you, all this we are talking about, it starts with us. As you understand that the benefits of emotional intelligence and you know how to build it, you build it in you. Because the truth is that even as a counselor, people will hear you speak, but they will do what they see you doing. So in as much as you can preach to people and tell people anything in this world, they will only do what they see you doing. They're not going to do just what you said they should do. So this is leadership for you, guys. This is leadership. Which means that what? For you to be a leader, your life, your whole life is leadership. You are leading by your life. Your life is modeling something to somebody. So even for somebody to come to you that, okay, we have this problem, or we need you to counsel us or do one or two things, they're looking at your life first. Even before they want to check what certificate you have. Before they go for your certificate, they are coming for you. They are looking at you. They are watching you. They are learning from your life. You are like the Bible they are reading. You know, so we must not neglect this aspect. We need to build ourselves spiritually. Because I'm telling you, there are cases in marriage you will hear. Now you are doing this course as counselors. There are some of them that I will even be sending but to you guys to handle. There are cases, marital cases you will hear like this, and you I don't know, you will run from your seat because you cannot sit down to listen. That's why it's good to be resilient as a marriage counselor for yourself, because you will hear things that are going to shock you. You will hear things that will shock you. So you build resilience for yourself, and then now, subsequently, you will help the people that come towards you to build resilience as well. But they learn more from the way they see you, from the way they learn, they study your mood, they learn more through your own comportment. So, number one way to build, and this is number one because it's priority to me. This, if you like, put in brackets spiritual intelligence. But I say number one is meditation. In brackets, spiritual intelligence. You need to build your spiritual intelligence. If your spiritual intelligence is on point, it will be easy for you to work on your emotions. All the other ones, you will build them with ease. You will work with them with ease. Because already you're already standing on a strong foundation to build the other things. You'll be able to build. Now, the second way or how you can build your emotional intelligence is to write down the emotion that you are feeling. Write down the emotion you are feeling. I was trying to look, there's a book here, I wrote something there when I didn't know this lesson, when I had never even learned it. But someone very close to me did something that was very hurting to me. And I sat down, wrote it in a book. I wrote it in there. I don't know who has ever done this, but write down the emotion that you are feeling, because it's almost as if you are removing it from here, from your heart, and you are putting it somewhere. Write it down. Now write down the emotion that you are feeling. Just the act of naming that emotion and being able to write it down, it starts to diffuse, D-E-F-U-S-E, diffuse, is removing the fuse from, bulbs have what they call a fuse in it. When you remove the fuse, you render the bulb powerless. You render it powerless. So when you say diffuse, like you take out what gives energy to it, you remove what gives power to it. So when you just can being able to write down, that you can write down, diffuses the power of that emotion in your brain. It weakens it. So you know now that, okay, I'm really angry. Come and write down anger. So the thing's name is anger. And then when you write it down, you look at it, I'm like, who be yourself? Who are you? You start minimizing it. You diffuse the power of it by writing it down. You reduce the power of that thing. Have you seen where anger destroys people? God of mercy. In this most recent time, we're driving and passing where, and two people were fighting by the side of the road. They could have entered the road and a car could knock them. I saw on social media, some people were fighting. Somebody was struggling to even just separate the fight. And when he went there, it was him they hit badly. And that man fell. I don't know whether he survived, but the way he fell, those are small things that if you learn how to build your emotional intelligence, what will ever take you to that level of fighting? You're fighting. What will ever take you to that level? So you need emotional intelligence. You need to grow it. And for you to grow it, write it down. That's one of the methods. We're just looking at practical, active ways to deal with it. So you write it down. When you start writing down that emotion, you develop an emotional vocabulary. And you develop your own self-awareness. So you write it, that means I know your name. If you can call it by his name, then you can address it. If you can already call the name of that thing, then you can address it. You can name it, then you can rise above it. If you can call it by its name, you can address it. You can handle it. If you can name it, then you can rise above it. If you can name that emotion, it means you can rise above it. The third one is cognitive behavioral therapy. This one is grammar. Cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive is C-O-G-N-I-T-I-V-E. Behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral. So this is a type of psychological treatment that helps people to learn how to identify and change the destructive or disturbing thought patterns. Disturbing thought patterns that have a negative influence on their behavior and emotions. So in short form, we call it CBT. CBT, the cognitive behavioral therapy. So CBT is based on the idea that our thoughts and actions are interconnected, and that changing one of these aspects can improve all the others. So your thoughts are connected to your feelings, and then they're connected to your actions. So if you want to think about it, it's like, before somebody goes to commit a crime, for instance, they have a thought of it. It starts with a thought. When they think about it, it produces a feeling in them. It creates a feeling in them. Then from that feeling, they go and take an action. So nobody just wakes up overnight and say, and just does something like, let's say, of recent, if people are watching news, something happened in Gaza, in Jerusalem, for those who are watching news, in Israel. So
Israel, yeah.
yes, Palestinians attacked them terribly, seriously. So one must have been going in the minds of the Palestinians. They have been planning it. They have the thought, okay, they're thinking that this is something. And then now it develops a kind of anger in them. And they're like, you know what, we're going to shatter these people. And then they went ahead and took the action. So your thoughts are connected to your feelings, and those feelings are connected to your actions. Each time you put up an action, that action came from your thoughts. It didn't just rise overnight. So CBT, as we call it, can help people cope with a variety of problems such as depression, anxiety, stress, anger, phobias, addiction, eating disorders, and a lot more. We can't name all. The next one is change your physiology. Change your physiology. Stretch out a little. So you can build your emotional intelligence by changing your physiology. Physiology, like if your posture, just like you have sat for too long, something is happening, you stand up a little bit. Stand, stretch yourself. Stretch. As you are doing some stretches, spreading out your hands and things like that, it's helping you. It helps you gain some more momentum. Spread your hands in the air, place your hands on your waist. You can stand and do some things. Just changing your posture, it changes your biochemistry, changes aspect. That's why they say when you sit down for 20 minutes, stand up for a few minutes and then you sit back down. So don't just sit for continuously for hours. It affects you. So just standing in this powerful position will increase your dominance hormones, what we call the testosterone, and it will reduce your stress hormones, which is called cortisol. So when you do that, it helps you build your emotional intelligence. Another thing you need to do is to practice deep breathing. You open your mouth and breathe. You breathe in at the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. You breathe out. You do it again repeatedly. Breathe in, count 4 times, hold it and count 4 times, and then you breathe out. Over and over. You practice deep breathing with your mouth open. With your mouth open. And it just does something in the inside of you. Do this when you are angry and you will gain control of yourself again. So, and they say this method equally lowers blood pressure. It helps you to lower blood pressure as well. And another thing is assign yourself to small tasks. Start with the small things. Anytime you feel less motivated, go for what you can. The smaller things that you can do and strike from your list of to-do things. And then so that you feel less frustrated that, oh, I've not done anything. Find something, the one that is easier, and do it. Another one too is help others who are in need. And this is very key. One of the key ways to help yourself is to help others. It's a very deep secret. A deep secret to changing your own mood and feeling better is to help others. The more you help others to feel better, you will feel better than them. So you need to grow out of you, me, myself, and I, and find out how you can help others get better. The more you start helping others to get better, you become your best even. And then you do also what we call empathy exercises. And empathy exercises, you try to read other people's emotions by just watching their non-verbals. They are non-verbals. It is said in psychology that communication is 93% non-verbal. So the non-verbals, like you read the person's face. Are they frowning? Are they smiling? Are they serious? You are reading their face, reading their eyes, reading their smile, reading the way their hands are, reading the way they are standing, reading the way they are sitting, reading the way they are walking. You just read the non-verbals. You are reading them not from what they have said, but just from the way, they respond, the non-verbal way. And as you do this over and over, you'll be able to master other people's emotions and build a strong emotional intelligence. And it is said in psychology that it's more about how it is communicated than what is communicated. So he says, don't trust what they said, but trust how they said it. So it's about how it is communicated than what is communicated. Somebody said something. For instance, so your spouse comes home in the evening and says, I'm not eating, honey. It's not about I'm not eating. He said something, yes, I will not eat. Now what you'll be reading is, how did he say it? How he said it will make you to understand more of his emotions, his or her emotions. Is he saying it, I'm not eating, out of anger, or because, well, I was out with some friends, so we had some dinner, I will not be able to eat again. Maybe you guys keep my food, I will eat in the morning. It's the same thing. How was it said? So you are looking at how it was said than what was said. Yeah. And I'd like to end with this one, which is reframing, just as it is pronounced. That's the 8th and the last point I want to talk about, how to be emotional. And you can even research more and find out more. But for now, I'll leave you with this 8. These are good enough for anybody to build emotional intelligence and become good. So reframing, that is reframing. Reframing in emotional intelligence is a skill that involves changing the way you perceive and interpret your emotions and the emotions of others. Changing the way you interpret, the way you perceive and interpret. I mean, reframing can help you to cope with negative emotions, and you start to communicate more effectively and resolve conflicts. This is a very powerful way to handle your negative thoughts or feelings that you have about a situation, no matter how difficult that situation is. So if you ask yourself, how would this situation turn out to my advantage? That's what reframing will do for you. You ask questions like, okay, if I take this road, what is the advantage if I behave this way? How good is it for me? By asking those questions, you'll be reframing, and that is something really positive. You can even reframe your past failure, something that happened in the past. How that failure helped you to move forward. Remember the story of Joseph in the Bible? Joseph reframed it, what the brothers did to him. He said to them, you meant this thing for evil, but the Lord has turned it around for my good. So you are bringing something positive out of it. You can look at it in a different way, reframe it, and see something good in a whole thing that made no good sense at all. So you look at it and see how it made a positive impact in your life. I like to round up here because I want us to ask questions. I want us to exchange. I want us to bring of what we've understood from the lesson. I want to go above this. Any observation, any question, any contribution, let us. It's time for gisting. It's time for interaction. And it will be good for everyone to say something that they really took from this.
I have this question, Mother.
Yes. Go ahead.
Is it I wrote it, I jotted it somewhere, but okay, low emotional. Oh God, I jotted it somewhere.
Look for it. While others are also preparing their questions, look for yours.
Is there somebody
The line is breaking. We cannot even hear you now. You have changed position. Go back to where you were.
Okay, I wanted for bad passion. Or bad passion is different from low emotional. Hello?
Yeah, go back. Yes,
Can you get
your
me?
line was breaking, so we didn't hear you.
I'm asking if low emotional intelligence, the cause of bad fashion or bad fashion is different from low emotional intelligence.
Beautiful. That's a good question, though. Yes, so if they're not, they can be connected somehow, but there's a difference because it's something you know and you are doing deliberately. It has a connection. So when you say bad fashion, like bad character, that's what you mean. Poor character.
Yeah.
So some people, poor character, somebody can just behave them anyhow. Somebody that can treat you anyhow, they can talk to you anyhow. But somebody of a low emotional intelligence is that they too may misbehave, but it's as a result of ignorance. Somebody with poor character, they may be aware, they know that this thing is bad, but they do it. They know it is bad, but they do it. But somebody with just a low emotional, it affects the person even more. It affects them. Somebody with a low emotional intelligence, they suffer. They even suffer more than the people around them. Because anything somebody puts up, you can interpret, you can misinterpret it in your own way. Just like we're talking about reframing. You put your own perspective to it. Somebody behaves in a way, you carve out something and bring one good story from it. And this person, you did this because of this, find any reason around it that makes it really bad. And then you start feeling bad because of it. I don't know if I answered the question, if it made sense to you.
Very well, very well. It makes a whole lot of sense.
Okay.
And the last remark.
Yes.
I learned today about emotional idolatry. I've never heard about that. Emotional idolatry. In fact, I've never heard about that. And today was like, this thing really exists. And then I was just flashing back, thinking about the times me to have really worshipped the emotional idolatry, because like you worship, you give time, you give patience, in fact, you can spend the whole day, and at the end, you even have headache. Yeah, just brainstorming on emotional idolatry. When you were talking, I was just seeing myself in the scene. I said, God. So this is what I was. Idolatry does not really mean worshiping status. It's true, because it's an emotion you build, and then you really take time worship. We even worship it more than the statues that we see in front of us.
Yes.
It's the highest idolatry that catches us. One of the highest idolatry that catches us, humans beings, is that because when we're talking, that's the highest thing that I can say catch me. All that's one like that. So thank you so very much for this one. It's my takeaway. I'm like, Jesus, thank you. I'm delivered.
I'm happy that you got that. You got that. So emotional idolatry is something we need to really watch out for. Somebody has hurt you, yes. They wronged you, yes. But will you get out of it? You will now worship the pain. You worship the emotion. You revise it. You think about how it started. You travel with it. You come back with it.
That's the only idolatry that goes everywhere when you go. You take it everywhere. Child, thank you. I'm a believer today.
Thank you for that.
You carry for free. You carry for free. Yet is the highest that destroys your life. Oh God.
Yes. God will help us. Yes. Any other observation or question? I like to go from questions because sometimes when you're just talking, it's not really good.
Okay,
Yes.
Mom. One is an observation.
Okay.
It's something I did ignorantly. It's when you were talking now that I was like, wow, so this was really a good one. I have this tendency that if somebody hurts me, I will take a paper, write down the good parts of the person, then I write the weak, I'll begin to write the good things you've done, then I'll begin to write the bad ones, and then I begin to see the one that outnumber the other. So I was just doing that, like, I don't know.
Wow.
So like what you just taught me now has really encouraged me to make me understand I was doing something. Yes. So
that's powerful. I
had a tendency of doing that.
Thank you for sharing that. Remember, I mentioned that there are some people that just grow with a certain level of emotional intelligence, not because they went to any school. I was talking about what I wrote. I wrote something that somebody really had me, somebody I did not expect. I wrote it down. Then, I go back and when I read it, I'm like, so now I had to overpower it because I wrote it down and I kind of diffuse. Don't forget this word, diffuse. Remove the fuse from it, remove power from it, sap it of its energy. Yeah. Wow. All right. I'm happy. Thank you. Thank you for your contribution. Any other contribution? I think Glory, I saw a message. Let me see. She put it on the chat. What's happening to my messages? Okay. Yeah, Glory said low emotional intelligence shows itself in high temper, correct? Depression, stress, negativity, in thought pattern and misinterpretations. Powerful. That's absolutely true. And then you remember in school, you used to hear some people say, how high temper, I should see me like this. And they are saying it with pride. High temper means low emotional intelligence. You are low. There's something wrong with you. I remember that the illiterates of this 21st century are no longer people who cannot read and write. The biggest illiterates of the 21st century are people who are low emotional intelligence, people who are not learning, who are not relearning and unlearning old things. Those are the illiterates of this 21st century. People who are not undertaking a personal development journey, learning, unlearning, and relearning. Because it is in the course of your personal development that you start growing your emotional intelligence. Good, that's one of the ways. Personal development helps you to grow your emotional intelligence. You can write that as number 9. Because I think I gave us 8 points there. Number 9, your personal development helps you to grow emotional intelligence. Very key, very key. So as you start growing, you discover that you are just maturing. Many things are just happening around your life. You are no longer at that some kind of level, Yes, any other observation or question? Thank you, Glory, for your contribution. That was a good contribution.
About writing. This is Glory.
Yes.
About writing, I used to practice this. I don't know how it came about, but I would write. And then in the writing, I will analyze what is actually causing me. My analysis was, upon all that I'm angry, what is it that makes me more angry? I will bring out the various parts of the elements that are contributing to the anger. And in the course of doing this, I realized that because of what you have just named, emotional idolatry, sometimes the thing already passed and I kept on it. Then when I write, I'll realize that what caused me to be angry had even been resolved, and I continued in the anger because I did not pay attention. So it is that writing, thinking what actually caused it. Because sometimes we pick up the anger and then we continue with the anger for days. The thing has been resolved and you are still thinking about it. So that analyzing what has actually caused, how have you contributed to it, can help to be able to really diffuse the power correctly.
Correct. Absolutely. Absolutely true. So when when you write it, you also ask yourself that, but what is the advantage? If I stay here, you remember we see this thing quite often that when you are angry with somebody, it's as if you are drinking poison and expecting that person to die. Anger is like poison. Unforgiveness is like poison that you are drinking, then expecting by your neighbor to die. It's killing by you. So when you ask, what's the advantage? I mean, I used to get angry until my neck would be paining. You know, anger that the things here, neck here. I don't know where your own anger used to stay, but the thing is paining. But
Exactly.
On the neck.
Sometimes I tap my chest.
So these are things that you discover for yourself. They start working for you first, and then you'll be able to help others. You see others who are still suffering, who are in there, who don't know these secrets that you are discovering now. You, as counselors, you will help them. You help yourself and be able to help others. Honestly.
Okay,
Thank you so much. Yes.
My own contribution, what I really learned today, and that I think I will say that is God really helped me. That is, I was hurt in my marriage, and when they say that kind of pain, I lived with it for 20 years, and every day I would just get up and I look at that person and I will ask this question: what actually came over you to do this kind of thing? So I kept meditating. Then most of the time I would just cry quietly, but I never even talked about it. But I kept praying, asking God that maybe God should be able to help me to see if I can even find a place to consider the person. But for the sake of my kids, I just asked myself one question. So should I just let everything go and I damaged, maybe destroy the future of my children? Then I just stayed and I kept on to it. I kept praying, and just as you said, the first point, meditation, and finally I got over it.
Wow. That's powerful. Remember I said that's the key. That's what is sustaining every other thing that we're saying. If that spiritual intelligence is all right, you'll be fine, because Christ is before all things, and in him all those things will hold together. It will take Christ for you to be able to forgive somebody. If you just tell people that forgive somebody that is not Christ conscious, forgiveness will be difficult. We live in a world where you need to also ask yourself that, okay, I'm angry with this person. I was working on a case like that, and a case of that one was adultery, and the lady was bent on leaving. The good news is that they are together today. They are fine. They came back. They live abroad. So she's leaving. She's leaving. So when I started working with her, we're trying to look at both sides. What good is in this man? He's bad. Yes, he did this, he did this, he did this. Is there any other good thing? She listed the number of good things, but it's only this one that spoiled the whole thing. That's okay. This is really bad. I'm not saying that it's good. It's bad. No man will like this nonsense. No man will just bear this by the way. But on the other hand, there's another thing that you need to also look at. Your own the crime, the sin you have committed is not adultery, but you're committing a sin as well. When the Bible says that forgive forgive our trespasses as we because we too have our trespasses. It will magnify the trespass of the other person and minimize our own. Will make as if, so I told her that all these sins are the same. You would not even forgive it. You have joined back into the same. You have entered the same camp with the person that started the initial problem. Now, this person might have even repented from his thing. He did the thing, but has repented, has confessed. He's fine with God. You're on that thing, and that thing is going to send you to hell while he goes to heaven. Can you imagine that? Because there are other ways to look at it, and like, okay, no, let's look at it in plain terms. I don't want us to be talking theology. Let's look at it in very clear terms. That if the person that committed a crime has repented, what's your own on that crime? So on the other hand, you also weigh that, okay, he did this, but is there something good? And you can cling or hang on that good thing. Because, we in leadership will learn that what you focus on is what will grow. So if you focus on that thing, the thing will keep expanding. But if you focus on the positive or the good one, that good one will eventually swallow up the negative one.
Okay.
Well, that makes a little bit, even though you're already on track, because you have to pray, meditate, think, and then you see God will even speak to your heart. God will start talking to you. That's why meditation is important. Meditate is not only when you're talking that you're going to pray, you're talking. You sit quietly because God too speaks to you when you pray. You sit quietly, let God talk to you. Okay, any other question or contribution? If there's no question, then